Hello everyone, and welcome back to 10 Things About Writing. I've been talking a lot about writing on Twitter at the moment, and a lot of writers have talked to me about their experiences of writing under lockdown, or writing about lockdown and COVID. And the question that keeps coming back is, what do you do if you're writing a novel set in the present day in the time of COVID? What do you do with COVID? Do you integrate it into your plot somehow? Do you make it so that people are constantly reminded of the fact that you are writing at this particular time under COVID? Or do you just pretend that COVID doesn't exist? And it's a difficult question and an interesting one, because obviously we can't pretend that COVID doesn't exist. But on the other hand, do readers actually want to read about COVID? My general feeling from talking to readers is that they don't, and that they want to read about something else. They want to escape from COVID without necessarily becoming completely disconnected with reality. And I had a look for a list online of books written during the war or between the wars or during the time of the Great Flu. And nobody writes about the Great Flu. It's very interesting. Books that may have been written about it seem to have completely vanished. Instead, we have a whole list of beloved classics written between these two cataclysmic world events, these two world wars, that either don't mention it at all, or only mention it tangentially, or are actually set in a world where reality doesn't matter at all, a kind of fantasy world where the war never happened and none of the things that we had to think about at that time happened at all. If you have a look at that list, and it's a long one, so I'm not going to read it all, but we've got things like The Great Gatsby, Brideshead Revisited, Mrs. Dalloway, a whole load of Lord Peter Wimsey novels, Cold Comfort Farm, The Remains of the Day, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, I Capture the Castle, The Wizard of Oz. We have all these books which are not about the war. In some cases, like Gatsby, yes, you do have references to the war, but they're tangential references. They are there to inform the progress of a character, to explain where a character was at a certain time in their backstory. But I haven't found anything that actually addresses the experience of war that has really survived in popular culture and popular imagination. Nowadays, if you want to read a book about the war, it's a book written by a relatively contemporary novelist, looking back at that experience, who is interested in what it might have felt like. It doesn't look to me as if there was a lot of appetite for writing about it while it was happening. And I think this is true of all great historical events. People don't necessarily want to read about what's happening in their home, outside their door. They want to read about something else. So what happens, the question is, whether if you want to write something, particularly something like YA, where you are writing in the present day and you're wanting to keep it accessible and immediate to your audience, what do you do? Well, I would say that there is probably not going to be a huge appetite for pandemic novels for a while. I think that once this pandemic is over, people will want to forget it as quickly as possible. People will want to heal and recover and do all the things that they have wanted to do during lockdown. I think that's inevitable. People are already escaping into other worlds through books. I think that will be something that people want to do for quite a long time. But there is no reason at all that you can't bring elements of your pandemic, COVID, lockdown experience into your writing. It's just a question of gradations. It's a question of not necessarily putting it in the forefront of your story, but allowing it to inform the backstories of certain characters, to inform their psychology. I think there will be a lot of books that are not so much about facts and history, but about feelings. In this case, the feelings will be paramount, I think, to the development of readable stories which will survive the test of time. I think that feelings of incarceration, of helplessness, of rage, of grief, of bereavement are the things that you should and can access right now and bring into your writing, because writing is all about taking the feelings that are foremost in your mind and using them to good purpose. I think art that is being created at the moment is extremely important. It's an escape for people. It's a catharsis for people, but it's also an act of rebellion. So even if you're not writing to be published, writing for better mental health, writing so that you can make something good in a world where good things are at a premium right now, this is a good thing to do anyway. So I would urge you to keep writing, or to start writing if you haven't already started, and to bring those feelings rather than the facts and the things that history will bring out about the pandemic, bring those into your writing too, because I foresee that there will be some fabulous writing coming out of this period. I just don't think that it will be the kind of factual writing about COVID that some people are expecting. But whatever you're writing, thank you for listening. Thank you for buying my book if you did. Until next time. Bye-bye.